Welcome back to another episode of ALANUI MELE, Hawaii Hip Hop History on PBS Hawaii. I'm your host, Kavet the Catalyst. And today on this show, I'm honored to have a guest. Doing this podcast, I'm trying to find the people that was there, the founders, the pillars of Hawaii hip hop, even before it was hip hop. So I was stoked when I got in contact with this man here. This guy's name is Kalani Young, one of the OGs in Hawaii's hip hop scene. But before hip hop, it was just locking and popping. But I'd like to welcome Kalani Young, aka Johnny Young, to the show, ALANUI MELE on
Hey,
PBS
how's it?
Hawaii. What's up, my brother?
How's it, brother? How you doing?
How you doing? So you're not in Hawaii right now. Where you at?
I stay just outside of San Antonio. It's in a
Antonio.
small community called Selma, Texas. So we're about a mile or two outside of San Antonio,
Yeah. Is there
Texas.
is there a scene there, like a b-boy scene, a popping locking scene, hip hop scene at all that you've connected with?
No, no, I not that I know of. There might be, but I don't. I think all these years I've been here, I think
Yeah.
I would have found out one by now. So
Right.
yeah, it's real dried up over here. Um, yeah, so I just live my life,
Yeah.
yeah, that hip hop thing kind of gone now, at least
Yeah.
in my life. Yeah,
Right, right, right,
um,
right, right.
yeah, like it
But you
used to
did
be.
you did send me a clip of you getting down at that one party though.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, that was about 2 weeks Friday, 2 Fridays ago. My
Yeah.
wife's birthday party. I'm not gonna tell you her age, but my wife's birthday party. It was
21.
like I'm a smart man. I've been married for a while, so I know the stuff what to and what not to say. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, that was there was a 1920s theme, Gatsby theme, and he was mixing old kind,
Yeah.
music from back in that period to modern day kind stuff. And then that one song came up by Earth, Wind and Fire. So I said, oh, okay, I gonna get down. So and
Gotta get down.
yeah, and it's funny. Majority of the people. Guests that were there had no idea. They don't know my background. It's not like something I go out and telling people.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So when I went out there, started jamming, it was like tripping out. Oh, what the? Where this came from? So I kind of surprised a little bit. Small kind people out there. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. If they only knew. But let's take it back before we find out how you got to San Antonio. Let's go all the way back.
Way
Huge
back.
rewind and to the beginning
Yeah.
of when you're in Hawaii and how old were you and what year was that when you first discovered dancing in
So
general?
yeah. So the music I discovered sooner than I did the actual dancing.
Okay.
Locking or cannibal lock dancing.
Yeah.
We're talking about the early 70s, late 60s. I'd say about maybe 70, 71 time period. And then because back in those days, the music was real slow getting to the island. So it'd
Yeah.
be well known on the mainland, and we wouldn't get the hits or the music until maybe a month, maybe a few weeks, a month
Wow.
later. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so we was like the last ones to get the that kind of music. So what I used to do, we made friends with military guys,
Right.
because they come from the mainland, and so they're up on the music
Yeah.
scene, all that kind. So a lot of the funk music, Parliament, funkadelic, all that kind of music we'd
Nice.
hear. Not even a radio station, anybody else would know about the songs, but because of the fact that the people that we hung around with. That's how we found out the music, or at least me. And that's how I found out about the music. As far as the locking, I never started locking till about 73. So how old was I? I
Wow.
was about 12 years old. I was born 61, 73. Yeah, I was about
Yeah.
12 years old when I started the locking
Was that through
dancing.
one of the military guys or was it through a television
No,
show? A family
no,
member?
yeah, no. Amazingly enough, with that being said about the military, yeah, I never have, in fact, I cannot remember one throughout the whole time period that seeing a military guy, do that, locking stuff like that
Right.
kind. I never saw, but how I discovered it was Soul Train and seeing commercials on TV that the lockers were on.
Right.
But the lockers are the original guys; those are the guys that the original dancers of that dance style. So
Yeah.
if anybody wondering, lockers, yeah, they were actually the co-founders of that dance style. Just a side note there. But I used to see them on TV every once in a while. But you know, also back in the days, never have
Data.
VCR, yeah, the video, never have that kind. So you had to go by memory. So
Yeah.
it comes on real fast. We run to the TV button. We studied power rating, the commercial power, the
Yeah.
performance power. So we had to go by memory. Oh, I think he
Right.
did this, and I think he did this, and whatever kind. So, yeah. So, like, if you were to put up videos, somehow if you were able to find videos of us back in the day,
Right.
our locking style was a lot different than mainland, because the fact
Okay.
that once again, we didn't have, like today, you could play video and you could practice kind, whereas
Right.
back in those
Right.
days it's all memory.
So
So
through the
yeah.
memory, you would fill in. So from what you remember from what you seen on the TV, you would
Hmm.
fill in the blanks technically, and that's where the
Yeah.
creativity part would come in.
Right. And I think that's why our style was way different than the mainland
Right.
style, because of the fact that, like you said, we might have caught a move, like maybe a point, or Uncle Sam when you do
Okay.
the points like that. But then we had to fill in between movements, to get to those
Right.
Uncle Sams and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
And so,
Real quick. What is a point and what is a Uncle Sam?
well, Uncle Sam is actually the point. Remember back in oh, you
Yeah.
might be too young.
No. Like we want you, right?
But
Like
we
that.
want you, yeah.
Yeah.
So the pointing, yeah, that's what they call Uncle Sam's,
Uncle
is the
Sam's.
points.
Okay.
Yeah.
So real quick, since we're on the topic, give us
Mm.
like maybe a couple basic locking moves. So yeah, the Uncle Sam, which is the point,
Right.
right?
Okay. So the word lock or locking. So it's hard. I can't. I can explain the move, but I can't explain it. I'll have to go back to the originator of the dance in order to be able to explain that move.
Right.
So back in the day, this is Don Campbell. This is him and I actually speaking when he came over and visit a few years ago. The reason why the dance is called locking is back in the day, and we're talking about the '60s now, when he was a teenager. The funky chicken was in, and other dance styles. Well, he wasn't really a dancer, a good dancer, so he do what he thought it was, but it wasn't exactly what the dance really was as far as name
Right.
was.
Right.
And so he started doing his own thing, his own style. And after a while, the older people who watched them dance, they would say, "Oh, hey, Don, won't you do that lock thing?" And so the actual lock is when you, so that's a lock. When you
Okay.
lock the movement, there's a single lock and then there's a double lock. So
Double
let me
lock.
stand up for a second.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're doing this, I don't know if you can see me very
Yep,
well.
we're good.
That's a lock.
Okay.
That's a double lock. So
Double lock.
that's that. So that's what lock, the actual move of locking is. And so that's how the name developed. What locking was, because of that specific move that he used to do.
So Don was the creator of locking.
I'm going to tell you something. Anybody in the world, anybody, oh, that sounds like a voiceover, in the world,
Oh, your voice is crazy. In the world,
one man.
one man created a dance. Nice.
But yeah, so if anybody, whoever is going to be doing the history of street dance, hip hop, whatever,
Right.
you cannot go any further back than one person, and that would be Don Campbell,
Right.
which the name of Campbell Lock Dancers, his crew is named after him. He is the sole founder, the very beginning, the Alpha, Omega. He's the guy. He's
Where's
the
he
guy
from?
that,
Where's he?
from California.
California. Oh, California.
Yeah, California.
So the
Yeah,
birth of locking is California.
yeah, LA to be
LA.
more specific. Hmm.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's the Uncle Sam the point. There's the locking part. Is there another move that you can snap on that?
There's the stop and go move here. Let me show you that. Here, let me adjust the camera so you can see a little bit better.
Okay, cool. Yes.
Oh, there would be the stop and go move coming up.
Oh, nice.
That's a stop and go move. Like I said, the lock, and then after that, there are other movements. So other movements that came in, like Shabadoo, came in later on in the
Right.
group as far as the lockers. And the story that Don told me, how Shabadoo entered the picture, and all of you probably know who Shabadoo is. He's the guy with in breaking, ozone and all that kind. He was he was the younger one. How he entered into the group is Shabadoo used to date one of the wait, one of the lockers, original lockers, dated his older sister, from what I understand,
Oh,
and he was the younger brother. So he used to
okay.
hang around with them and everything, keep bugging him, and finally they, because of the fact that the two were dating, they went
Yeah.
ahead and just brought him in.
Right.
So yeah, so that's how he ended up being in the group, and that's why he was significant younger than the rest of the people in the group, was because of that very reason. God rest, rest and soul.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
Don kind of did the Hawaii thing. Don couldn't dance like everybody else, so he kind of filled in the blanks for
yes,
what his
exactly,
what his creativity was flowing at the time.
yes,
It's like, hey, okay, I can't do that, but I can
right,
do this. And it's kind of like what
right.
we were doing in Hawaii, or you were doing in Hawaii, where
Mhm.
you would see a commercial, only catch the ending, and be like, oh, maybe they did this, and then
Right.
that you developed your own style.
Exactly. And if you think about it, that's kind of how a lot of dances begin.
Right.
Of course, I don't know for sure, but that would be my guess of how other things would develop. Jazz from ballet, or from whichever kind of dance style. So a lot of the dance styles might have similar movements, and then they spun into their own category, into their own identity, I guess, sort of speak. So. But yeah, that's exactly how he began. Was the
Right.
same how we began
Yeah. Well,
our dance.
tell us a story about the light, the a lamp you used to use
The light,
for your dance moves.
the light, and the lamp.
Yeah, didn't you like uh put
Oh
the light up or something to
yeah,
late?
you've been talking to Clark,
Yeah.
huh? Okay, so I was raised in Waipahu, and that's where I started my dance thing. Is
Hey.
up in the Waipahu area, yeah. And so I didn't have a mirror. Well, I haven't told this story. Oh my gosh, in years. I forgot about that. So I never had a mirror in my room. So I had this little picture about so big, it hung on the wall, and it was real glossy. And so the picture on the wall, I would look at my reflection. So I would put the picture to where the light would be behind me, so you can see my silhouette, not necessarily
Yeah.
me per se, but my
Right.
silhouette. And I practiced in that picture, little moves and stuff like that. And then once I felt like I got that, then I would sit down, or whatever, do my thing, until something else would pop in my head. Sometimes in the middle of my sleep, man, I haven't told this story, but wow. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I'd be sleeping. I might be either dreaming about something, and something would come to my head. I
Right.
would literally wake up, turn on the light, and see how it looked in that picture, the reflection in that picture, and then I keep on doing it until it's somewhat burnt into my head, to where I could go back to
Right.
sleep. Because the last thing I wanted to happen was to come up with something that I figured was pretty cool, and then go to sleep, wake up, and then I forgot already. Yeah.
Wow.
So I would do it a few times to make sure I understood the movements of what I did, and maybe sometimes even get paper, whatever, kind of write down little notes of try to remind me exactly what it is that I did. And man, I'm surprised you found that. I'm
Yeah.
shocked you found that out. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and that's how I used to practice. I never
I thought
practiced in a
I
mirror.
thought that was an amazing story. I was like, what? I just showed
Yeah,
the hunger, or the what you like, you really wanted to dance, like you really wanted to figure out how I'm gonna do these moves, because
E-
there was no internet, there was no VHS, beta,
none of that.
none of
Yeah,
that. No, you weren't getting it from anybody else in your neighborhood, right? Nobody in your neighborhood was
yeah.
dancing like that.
No, nobody. This dance was relatively unknown, unknown dance, and that's what made it difficult. At least back in those days, was
Right.
all those factors played against you, but maybe maybe that was a blessing in disguise, because we had to use our creativity to come up with our own thing. Whereas nowadays you can copy, Xerox and copy and look at video and practice. Whereas back in the days we just had to think, okay, maybe it was this. Maybe I touched my leg, come up and do a
Yeah.
lock and do
Right.
Uncle Sam's or whatever like that. But yeah, so again, now I'm thinking
So this
maybe it
when
was a.
you were at what point, at what age were you when you started doing, like, was it 12, 13, 14, or
So when I started locking, it was 1973. So I was, yeah, I was 16, so I was 12 years old,
years old?
and so that's when I started my voyage,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
my
Nice.
long voyage, like 50 years
Yeah.
ago almost,
And on that
of
voyage,
the dance.
who's the first person you met on that voyage that also locked? Because at this point you're isolated by yourself. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
No
So
family members, no
I
friends was on.
no, I didn't know anybody. Nope, there was nobody at that particular time that knew that dance. In fact, I didn't know what that dance was called. I
Right,
just,
right.
just. I mean, how do you explain something like that? Oh, he does this and does that. I don't know what.
Yeah.
And so what I ended up having to do is I had some friends that lived up the street, so I taught them.
Oh, nice.
So I was teaching them so I could have somebody to do that
Yeah,
dance
yeah,
style
yeah.
with. And so we do contests at the carnivals and stuff like that, and Waipahu at the rec center, and we'd win some competitions and stuff like that. So,
Nice.
but yeah. So a couple years, 2 3 years, maybe more, went by until finally I ran into one other person, and this was in high school. And my God, his name is Ron Oliveros, and he knew he was a Holly guy.
Right.
I yeah.
Was this in
I
Waipahu
think
High School?
this is Waipahu High School. Yeah, Waipahu High School. We're talking about right now. We're talking about time frame about 76. I was a freshman in 76.
Wow.
Yeah,
This is crazy.
yeah. So it was
You met
about
this
70.
Howley guy in Waipahu, and he's from Hawaii or he moved here?
I think he was from mainland. Him
Yeah.
and his brother were from mainland, and they moved there a couple years prior.
Right.
And so he knew, and that probably how he knew about the dance, because mainland,
Right.
and
Yeah.
he knew a couple things, and so I saw him do a couple things at a dance, and so I walked up to him, hey bro, hey, like that, and
Nice.
we automatically became friends, and so we used to, after school, we used to practice together. Hey, let's do this move, and once we got comfortable and understood each other's movements and everything, we performed what do you call those, assemblies?
Right.
I don't know
Yeah.
what they
Yeah.
call them
Yeah.
nowadays, but no,
Yeah.
they used to have assemblies on Fridays. So he and I would practice. I remember the first time he and I went up there, we danced to the song "Groove Line" by Heatwave.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, and we danced to that song, and we got a really good response and everything. Yeah,
It's just you and him.
yeah, just he and I. Yeah, just he and
And did you
I.
guys have a name? Did you guys make a name for the crew at that point?
No, it was no name.
So he was just
Just
Johnny Young and what's the other guy's name
and
again?
Ron Oliveros.
Ron Oliver.
Yeah,
And then when they announced you guys, did they say they probably just said they'll be dancing?
yeah. I mean, I think by that time, I think we knew it was locking.
Locking. Okay.
I don't know if I'm not sure how I found out, but
Right.
yeah.
But Ron knew it was locking though at that point.
Ron knew he had to be. He did a couple of he knew how to do the lock. His style of lock was a little bit different, and when he locked down, but I automatically recognized it, what kind of dance that was, and I thought we drifted together, became really good friends.
Right.
And
so then you weren't even a crew then. So you were dancing. So that's ninth grade. That was about 76. So when did you start I guess spreading out, going out to other dances or other things and start seeing local? Who's your first local like local dancer locker that you've met? That you can remember.
outside of the one that I taught.
Yeah. Outside who you taught and Ron. I'm curious to see if they were doing it by
Right.
themselves as well, right? And
Yeah. They had to have been. So in high school, Reggie. Okay, so there's this Kaimo Key, couple guys from Kaimo Key. I know one was Reggie. I forget his last name.
Right.
He was a heavy set guy. He loved rerun, and body type yeah, and he was just like rerun. I mean that looks and the expression on his face. And there was another guy, Ben, another Philippine guy, Ben. I forget his last name.
Yeah.
He was a musician in a local group over there later in years, but I forgot his name. But his name was Ben. So we used to start hanging around with each other, and then go to dances around the kind of Kalihi. That's where they were from. I was Kalihi, right in the middle of town. Right. Yeah, and we used to cruise around Farrington and IAEA High School and Waipahu High School and other places that would hold school dances and stuff like that. So we danced together for about maybe a few months, and then soon after is when I ran into Derek Drain. He's the originator of the Silver Lockers, and a lot of people saw him on a moving company. At that time, the moving company was a different format than it is now. I don't even know if they still play, but back in those days, the format was more like American Bandstand or Soul Train, that type of thing. And I believe they filmed it at the Infinity Disco at the time. And I think the very first host was Michael W. Perry, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Yeah, Kamasami Kong never come along until later. The other host before him, who's the other host? There was another host, but he didn't come along afterwards. And I know briefly Andy Bubenhai was the host for it, but this was the very beginning, and I believe it was Michael W. Perry was the host.
It was more of a dance show then.
Yeah, it was a dance show. They filmed at the Infinity Disco,
and what sounds like it, right? Hawaii Movie Company.
yeah, and it was disco. It was like a disco thing. I mean, it was exactly Hawaii's version of the American Bandstand or Soul Train.
Like what, 78?
Oh my God, it's about 78ish.
Right.
78, yeah, 77, 78, somewhere around there. That time frame. Yeah, it was around that time, around that time period.
Right.
And
how did you link up with Derek Drake?
So, so I was more comfortable with my locking, and we went to a dance in Waikiki.
Right.
Myself and Ben and Reggie and maybe some other friends. We went to a dance in Waikiki, and we were entering dance contests quite a bit, and it just so happened one of the members of the Silver Lockers named Melvin, I guess they had formed by then, was a participant in the dance competition, dance contest. So we started, had a whole bunch of people, and it narrowed down to he and I. And fortunately for me, maybe unfortunate for him, I won the dance competition and everything. And so, and that's how I ended up meeting Derek. Was because of that particular reason. We started talking, and he was asking me where I was from, and I told him from Waipahu. A lot of people don't know that all the members from the Silver Lockers were from Kaiser High School.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was the only one outside of Kaiser, all the way on the opposite side of Waipahu.
I told you this before. I was shocked when you told me that.
Yeah,
all the original Silver Lockers are all from Kaiser.
Yep.
I would never expect Kaiser, first of all, to be in the words of, like, poppy locky hip hop.
right.
Just to me, I was like shocked, but
Mhm.
supposed to show like it could start anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Kaiser High School. Melvin lived out there in Hawaii. Daryl Slate, he's the tall, howly guy. He lived out there. Derek Drain and Michael Drain, of course, and those were the four founders of the Silver Lockers.
So it's
And then I
Derek
came
Drain,
along.
Michael Drain,
Melvin, I forget his last name, Melvin.
and then
Daryl Slate.
Daryl Slate. Those are original Silver Lockers.
Yeah, those are the original four. Yeah.
Were they like the only, I guess, well organized locking crew?
They were the only at that time. They were the only organized crew out there that would go out there perform and everything. And then I joined the group, and soon after I joined the group, other groups, maybe a few months later. It's hard, man. The times go by differently than nowadays. I mean, what might have been seem like a few months is like a couple years nowadays. It seems like, but I believe it was a few months after I joined in and we started performing all over the place. I mean, like almost every high school on the island we were performing, and then we noticed other groups coming out. I remember the group specifically from Kalihi called the Lakeside Lockers. I guess, Lakeside. I guess because of the group Lakeside.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I cannot remember any other group that comes to mind. I know there was a group called Galaxy. Later on. Yeah, Galaxy, and that Dino Robley was in that group. Lee Gomez was in that group, and I believe Tony Makakawa, the late Tony Makakawa. He was a DJ at the Point After also. He was in the group, and I think there was other person that was in the group. And then, so they had them, but to be honest, I cannot think of another name of any of the locking group. I know there were plenty out there. There were lots of them, but I just.
So this is before popping really popped off.
Now, popping was not even in the picture
Wow.
yet. Yeah,
So these are
was not
locking
even.
crews.
Yeah, it was a strictly locking,
Oh, that's
and
crazy.
that was it. Yeah, strictly locking.
It's so hard to. It's. I mean, I'm a '90s guy, so it's so hard to comprehend uh hip hop in general.
Right.
Just like the element of locking only, like only locking
Uh,
crews, because you always think of locking in hip hop, locking and popping, right, as one, and then breaking, right, as another. But so
yes.
it just blows my mind. It's like, no, they're just locking crews. And
Yeah.
this, what
Yeah.
year was this where all these locking crews started popping up? Do you remember?
Yeah. The many of the groups area wise seem to be at Honolulu,
Okay.
Kaimuki, McKinley, Farrington, in those general areas. Maybe one or two groups, maybe on the kind of Waimanalo,
Right.
but the majority of them were all town. The kind Waikiki,
Yeah.
Jason and Steven Silva. Steven Silva, many of you know as Sugar Pop. Those two were from lived in Waikiki at the time, and they used to go around calling themselves the Silva Brothers. Silver
Right.
Locker, Silver Brothers. Yeah.
Brothers, yeah.
So they were a duo. Um, but yeah, those
No,
are the
no
general
crews from
areas town.
Kaneohe? No crews from Kaneohe side?
Hold on. I
Maybe
know
that's
there's
more
some
pop.
out
Maybe
there.
that's probably the popping era.
Popping, I don't know. The popping, so popping never get really popular until after I moved away.
Okay,
Then
okay.
when I came back, I saw all these other girls. Whoa, where these guys come from?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I left in about mid 80s, 1980s.
Oh, wow.
And at that particular time, we were the only ones doing the boogaloo or the popping at that time.
What's the
I'm not
difference
at all.
between
Yeah,
boogaloo, and popping?
it's same thing. So popping, okay.
Okay,
So boogaloo, boogaloo is actually the name of the dance.
okay.
Um, the styles that stem out of the main dance of boogaloo is popping, waving, floating, tutting, all that. That's in the
Ah,
that's in the dance itself called
nice.
boogaloo. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that, and that's why I try my very best to educate everybody that there was a main dance called boogaloo, and popping and all those other dances stem from the main dance of
Right.
boogaloo. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm asking you these questions. It might sound
Mhm.
rhetoric, it might sound like repetitive, but a lot of times I feel like you and me, we're about this, like I love this
Mhm.
kind of stuff. You lived it, right? I can listen to this all day, but I really want to try to cater to the people that know nothing, as well as the people that want to dig in deeper to Hawaii's history. I want people to
Right.
come and be like, "Oh, I never knew about lock popping. I didn't know Boogaloo was the
Right.
was the main, hub with everything tutting, locking. I mean,
Right.
popping, right? Like things like that is like
Mhm.
golden. So I always
Yeah.
tell people like, if it
And
sounds like I'm asking like, what's the date? How old are you?
mhm.
Like, can you explain some of the
Right.
simple stuff that you and me might know, but other people might not know, right? So
Well,
I'm glad
yeah.
I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, I always say, even to my students, I used to teach back in the day. It's always good to it's always good to know where you came from,
Right.
because if you don't know where you came from, then you really don't understand your future. You don't understand where you're going to head to in the future. You need to know what was behind you,
Yeah.
and like the term pop locking, that is a total messed up term.
Oh,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
popping and there's locking. There's no such thing as pop locking. And the reason why,
Yeah.
yeah, and the reason why they call it pop locking, and this is actually something that came from the East Coast, from what I understand,
Okay.
was because locking um, was a style that was developed, and then popping was another style that developed, and so they meshed the two together. For some reason, they started calling it pop locking, although there's no such a thing. Those are two specific different styles of dancing. So
Oh,
if you see or hear anybody calling it pop locking, put that to a stop right away because
nice.
there's no such thing as pop locking. Okay, yeah, I'm letting everybody know there's no such thing as pop locking. There's popping, which is under the umbrella of boogaloo, and then there's locking. Two separate types of dancing.
Let's
So
go.
yeah.
What's funny is, because I'm not a dancer like that. I've used pop
Those
lock
terms.
in my vocabulary, not knowing that, I just was like, yeah, pop locking, right? You just say it, right?
Right,
And
right, right.
and good to get that out, because I mean, because of the Olympics, there's this big thing about everybody calling it, and we've been fed this break dancing, right?
Mm,
But according to a lot of the b-boys and breakers, it's not break dancing, it's breaking. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, okay, that's crazy because all these years we've been fed break dancing,
right.
but now there's
Yeah.
like a wave of like b-boys and breakers.
Mm,
Like, no, 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 it's not break dancing, it's breaking. So I'm like, okay, I'm not a b-boy. You know what I mean?
mm,
I appreciate it. I did it a little while, but okay, that's what it is. Kind of like the pop blocking thing, right? Like,
right.
it makes total sense, but it sounds just more like a thrown together term, right? It's like, oh, you pop locking. No, 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 I'm locking, I'm popping.
Right. Yeah. Two specific different types of dance styles.
How old were you when you moved away in the 80s?
Graduated at 16. I moved away in 80. So I graduated in 79. I moved away in 80. So I was about 17, 18 years old. I
What was what
originally,
was the, what was the scene like in the 80s before you moved?
the the popping was coming in really strong. Uh, a lot of people were starting to do popping or boogaloo,
Right,
boogaloo style, and so it was probably an even amount. So locking uh, was still king,
right,
not because it was any better, but because majority of people,
right.
because it had many years to develop, into
Yeah,
something
yeah.
larger. Whereas boogaloo didn't come out till 70, 77, 78. Around that time frame, which happens
Right.
to be we were once again the ones that introduced that to the islands when we went to dance competitions and stuff. And I don't know, I can go ahead and explain the story how
Yeah, no, explain the story.
Boogaloo.
Explain the story.
All right, okay, grab a Snickers bar.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the civil lockers. During that same time period, skating started making its way in, roller skating all over. Waikiki was, I mean, there was like skate rentals all over the place in Waikiki. And so after the point before, um, we used to go. We used to go skating and terrorize the tourists and stuff like that. There was this one skating rink in Pearl Harbor. It was an outdoor skating rink that we used to go to, and it was easy access and everything like that. It was outdoors, so we could enjoy the weather and everything like that. So we used to go there quite a bit. So that was one of our many hangouts after the point before.
Right,
And those of you who don't know what the point before, the point after was the older version
right.
disco. The point before was for people like us who were underage, weren't old enough to go to the point after, and yeah. So this was every Saturday from uh, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Wow.
All ages would be able to go there, and in fact, adults were not allowed. There's only ages 18 and below
Right,
were
right, right.
allowed. Yeah, so we went to there, hung out for many hours and danced and everything until afterwards, and then we leave. They shut down, clean up, and then reopen again for the older crowd as the after. Anyway, so we used to go to the skating rink there, and then one day I had this guy come down there. It- Ended up finding out it was his name was Ben Casperson later on. Of course, at the time, you know his name. He would come down there. He had this jacket. He had this hairnet. I guess Cholos back in the mainland used to wear this hairnet thing, and
Yeah.
so he looked like a Cholo. So I thought he was Mexican, but he wasn't. He was actually Hawaiian. But he
Okay.
was he was from Fillmore District in San Francisco,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, so he came down with a couple Samoan buddies of his like that, and we were skating, and we saw him walking down, whatever, like that, with the other guys, and then his friends, a Samoan guy, came up, said, "Oh, hey, our friend over here like challenge," and so we started. What is that challenge? Challenge what? What are you talking about challenge? And
Yeah.
that we didn't know what that meant. There was no
Right.
such thing as challenge. And he said that, oh well, my friend, he'll do a couple moves and then you do a couple moves dancing, and then you top each other, and I was like, really, we were puzzled.
Wow.
challenge, wow, what kind of this, so
Yeah.
okay, whatever, so I took my skates off and everything, and we were gonna have Derek go out there. Derek was the king,
Yeah.
at that time of locking. He said, hey Johnny, just go out and take care of him real quick. I said, okay, whatever. So we took our skates on, we went in the parking lot, and Ben Cashman, I always remember his eyes. There was something with his eyes that was mesmerizing. I mean, his eyes were captivating. He had those. It's hard to explain. Almost like
Right.
man. But anyway, he do this his stare, and he sit there with this smile on his face. He comes out like that, and we go, "Oh, that was mean, bro, mean." So I come out there, boom, boom, do my moves like that, and he would look at his eyes were big as of saucers, and he would look at me. He looked at his friend. He turned around and walked away. He started walking back, I guess, wherever they came from. So his friends had to stop and run up the hill to grab him and say, hey, that's old stuff. You got the new stuff. So turned him around and brought him back. So he started doing other movements. The Bugs Bunny popping is what he called that. And I'll do my, locking like that. So the heck, we don't even know who won, but we became really good friends. I was really intrigued. All of us were intrigued about what he was doing.
Right.
And he loved what we were doing. He had never seen it live before, because from his point of view, from Fillmore, that's what they were doing was popping or Fillmore strutting. So we became really good friends. He lived in the Salt Lake. We ended up finding out, and so we made a deal. He and I told him that, okay, I tell you what, bro. If I teach you locking, you can teach me, what you're doing. He goes, okay, shoots. So myself and Jason Silva, rest in peace to Jason. He and I almost every night used to catch the bus and go to his house, and he would show, he'd show us, how to, pop the body and everything like that. And then after about an hour or so, then we'd show him locking movements and, how to do it and everything like that. So we did that for a good, oh my God, it seemed like a year, but probably was not a year, but it seemed like it. Yeah. And so we started introducing people to Ben Casperson. Steven met up with him. The rest of the group, in fact, we brought him into our group because we wanted to be the first ones to, first group to have a popper or a boogaloo or a stutter or whatever. And so we would do our thing performance-wise and bring him out, and he would do, his Bugs Bunny popping, whatever movements he would do and everything like that. And so that was the first introduction as far as group-wise of a boogaloo dance was because of him.
So Ben Casperson is the first guy you see do like some kind of popping boogaloo or Fillmore strut or anything. Like you were going to the point before and everybody
nobody. It didn't exist. It did not exist. Did not exist. Yeah.
And he was there for military, or he moved there? Or?
No, his father, being Hawaiian background, I guess his father was raised here, and so they decided to want to move back because it was getting a little bit too crazy. Up in San Francisco. So he brought his family over here and Ben. And I know Roddy, from what I understand later on, his younger brother Roddy became really known for breakdancing many years after I left.
Oh, wow.
Roddy Casperson. I think there's some people out there who would know who that is. Roddy Casperson. Anyway, that was Ben's younger brother.
Wow, that's so crazy. So he basically is like, you got to join the Silver Lockers.
Yeah, we brought him in. Yeah, we brought him in. That was the first time we saw it live. We had seen the dance before. Never really. I don't want to say we didn't take it seriously, but we were intrigued, but we didn't know even where to begin. And besides, we were still doing our locking. We used to watch Electric Boogaloo, the Shalimar Dancers with Jeffrey Daniels, and in fact, the backslide. I was the very first one to introduce backslide in Hawaii. Yes, St. Francis High School. That was a girls' school at the time, and Damien used to be an all-male school. So that was the two schools. So St. Francis had a dance on one night. I believe it was a Saturday, and I could not wait because I practiced my okole off up at Daryl Slate's house every weekend. tried to learn how to do the backslide. It's not called the moonwalk. It's called the backslide.
Okay, there
And
you go.
no,
I wanted
and
you to
no,
clarify it to
and
people.
no, Michael Jackson did not make up the dance. That dance, the backslide itself, has been around since the 40s, the 20s, and
Right.
there's old video that proves that point. But anyway, I could not figure out how to do it, and finally, I put on a pair of socks, and then when I put on the socks, I was able to do the backslide. So I kept on doing it until it became natural.
Right.
And then our first chance I got was just at the St. Francis High School, is when we did a performance, and instead of me going out doing all my
Yeah.
movements, I went out there, started doing a backslide, and that's all I did. I didn't know boogaloo or any other movement. I just knew how to do the backslide. So I did the backslide. The crowd, woo-hoo, whatever. Like, I felt like the king of the world at that time. And I know during that same time period, Steven was trying to learn that
Right.
move also. And after I did that, Steven was surprised, but I never told him I knew how to do it. I learned how to do it. So he came up to me after the performance and said, "Hey, you got to teach me, how do you do that?" And I wouldn't teach him.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be the only one to know how to do it on the island.
So for people that don't know,
Nobody.
backslide is called the moonwalk because of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, okay. Backslide is a dance. I mean, it is a move by itself. The moonwalk is something that you see mimes do. Mimes do a lot of moonwalk. I don't know if the video I can show you real quick if my feet won't go up high enough. But the moonwalk is when mimes would act like they're floating and everything, and the moonwalk was kind of similar to the backslide, but they didn't slide. They just rotated their feet, one foot down as the other foot's coming up, and it's hard to explain. I have to show you visually. Yeah, but that was called the moonwalk.
So nobody else did it in Hawaii before you did it?
Nobody, not a single person did that.
This was what, 79, 80?
This is about, this is about 70, 78, 79-ish. I want to say more. Yeah, I want to say more 79, but it could have been late 78 during that time period.
That is great.
Yeah, and then there's another.
How did you pick it up? You seen it?
The boogaloo or the moonwalk?
The
backslide. Backslide. So watching Shalimar and Electric Boogaloo, when they do their solos and do the backslide. Yeah, that's how I looked at it, and I want to copy that. So we watched it closely, and I believe at that time, that's when VCRs were starting to come out at that time. Okay. And I'm not mistaken, I think I was able to put the tape in and record the last section of him do the backslide. Yeah.
Kalani with the VCRs, dangerous.
Oh, bro. Yeah, I was in tech, I was a high tech kind of thing back in that time. But so I did learn how to do the backslide, and that was the only thing I learned. So that's how I learned it, was just practicing. Daryl Slate, he was one of the members, like I mentioned earlier, of the Civil Lockers. He used to live up in the hills in Hawaiʻi, and almost every Saturday night after we come home, we would go to his house. He had a huge house. His mom was barely home, and so we'd sleep at his house and then wake up early in the morning. That's when I would practice that.
That's cool. So you catch the bus from Waipahu to Hawaii?
Yeah, yeah, catch the bus. Yeah, I never drive at the time. Yeah. I didn't start driving till about 79.
But it's just cool, the fact that Waipahu boy can go all the way to Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And you got Salt Lake with what we'll call it, Ben. All these guys coming together, parts of the island, just for a dance. You know what I mean?
That's,
unity within our islands. That's pretty. I think that's super dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hated waiting for the bus. Oh, number 52. Number 52 bus. Those of you who go up to Wahiawa, they know number 52 bus. The bus stops are running I believe about 10 o'clock at night, and it doesn't start running until about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So there were times that I was stuck downtown. I'm sleeping at the bus stop, waiting for 5 o'clock in the morning for the first number 52 bus. I'd jump on number 52 and come home. Yeah.
But to Hawaii, I think it was either a 58 or 57.
Yeah, and then we had to transfer at Ala Moana, number 52. Yeah.
Yeah. I know how the buses very well. I actually missed the bus. How easy it is.
Yeah.
Just sit there and I remember growing up sitting on the bus, just thinking about, like for me, I was more of an MC DJ, so I was going record shopping. So me catching the bus, I grew up in town catching the bus to Jellies and all
Right,
the,
right.
now that I'm older, I'm like, dang man, I really do miss those times.
Yeah, yeah, those fun times. Bus, I remember bus only costing, I believe it was 10 cents, and then raised it to 25 cents
Yep.
a ride. Then you used to get the, I don't know if they have them anymore, but the kind of, what do you call it?
Transfer.
Transfers. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the paper transfers. Yep.
Oh yeah, you get one transfer, and if you're young enough, you could coax the bus driver. Oh, uncle, I lost my transfer. Give another one. Oh, it's
Yep.
great. So why did you leave Hawaii at that time?
So I left Hawaii. So originally I left Hawaii. I joined the military. I joined
Oh,
the army, and
right,
I went to Fort Jackson. In fact, one of the guys that I taught dancing, who I mentioned a long time ago,
right.
when I used to taught locking, he and we joined together, and we went to
Oh,
Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
okay.
Unfortunately, it was a short stint for me. I had injured broke my third vertebrae, and
Ooh.
so I got discharged. And then instead of coming home, I went to the Bay Area. That's how I ended up in the Bay Area.
Yeah, so now you're in the Bay Area, and tell us about
Mhm.
the Bay Area because you ended up linking with dancers up there
Oh yeah,
that also helped you dance with the Booyah tribe.
yeah, yeah. The Booyah tribe wasn't called that at that time. They were called the Blue. Okay, so they had two different names. They went by the Blue City Lockers back in the 70s, and this is during the same time period I was with the Silver Lockers. So simultaneously, they were um, locking while we were locking Hawaii. Later on, when Boogaloo came out, they changed their name from the Blue City Lockers into the Blue City Strutters.
Okay.
So those guys, many of you out there, old schoolers, I don't know the new guys, know a duo called Heko and Jeko.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
two Samoan twins, part Samoan, part Japanese. Jack
Oh,
and Charlie Hisataki. Yeah, a lot of people didn't know they were Japanese.
yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know they were
short,
Japanese.
stocky guys. Yeah, yeah. So they one was based up in the Bay Area. Jack was based up in the Bay Area where we were.
Right.
Charlie, his twin, was down in the southern Carson City area.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
and so when we had large performances, either in Southern California or large performances in the Northern California, we get the groups together and we either travel down there and do performance with the whole crew. We have about 20, 30 guys out there
Wow.
jamming, or they would come up to the Bay Area.
Right. And how
And
did you link up with Jack in the Bay Area?
so Jack, so there was a group called Quick Style.
Okay.
So many of the people in Hawaii won't know who they are. In Bay Area, it's almost the same situation in the Bay Area for Quick Style as Silver Lockers were in Hawaii back in its
Okay.
day. Quick Style was one of the, if not the top groups in the Bay Area at that time. They were not the first group. There were other groups out there, Gentlemen of Production,
Right.
and some other groups I cannot remember at the moment here. But Quick Style, All Style, we were the first group that incorporated breakdancing, uh, boogaloo, and locking all in one group, whereas other groups were specifically a breaking group, or
Yeah.
another group was a strutting or a boogaloo group or a locking group. We had all three styles, and that's what we call ourselves a Quick Style All Style. Anyway, at that particular time, Quick Style was only a locking group at that particular time, and I was in another group. My God, I forget the name, but I had developed my own little guys that we used to dance
Right.
with
Right.
everything. And so we've been in a dance competition. It's somewhat the same thing. Of course, we never won. We could
Yeah.
not beat this Quick Style. They were just too
Right.
good. But then the Fred Lau, he's cousins of Jack and Charlie, and also cousins of the founders of the Booyah tribe, the Blue Sea Strutters. In fact, Fred was one of the members of the Blue Sea Lockers from back in the day. Anyway, he and I started talking. We just hit it off right away, and so I ended up joining his group. A couple of other breakers from the group I was with joined their group also. Some of the better breakers, and that's because he specifically told me that he wanted to be the all around group, not only one dimensional but three dimensional. You know, all three of
Nice.
the major dances. And this was the very beginning. At that time, I didn't do locking very much anymore. I had kind of dropped off and did more boogaloo than
Okay.
locking. So in the Bay Area, I was more popular, known as the boogaloo dancer, not as a locker.
Brilliant.
And so that's why he pulled me into the group. So now he has the boogaloo,
Right.
and
Right.
then the breakers.
Yeah.
Now accomplished with his goal, which was to become a multi-dimensional type
This
of
is Quick Style.
quick style. Yes.
What year was this? What year was this when you joined Quick Style?
70. I mean, excuse me, 80. Oh, sorry, 80. I want to say 83.
Wow, that's so fast.
Yeah, yeah, about 83. Yeah, it was a couple of years after I got there is when I met them. Yeah, so it was about 83, 82, 83
And Quick
era.
Style was pretty much the crew that in the Bay Area.
We were building our way back up. They weren't as well known at that particular time because we were on a newer side. Once we got the other, once we became multi-dimensional as far as dance styles,
Right.
is when we really started hitting off. We used to travel with this radio station that existed. I don't know if it's there anymore, called KSOL 107.7. They used to go around like KI did over here for
Right.
yeah, they used to travel around and go different high schools, and we used to do performances and different nightclubs and stuff like that. So that's how we got known, and then we started doing opening acts like for Trinier,
Oh, nice.
Stevie B,
Yeah, yeah.
my God, Lakeside. Oh my gosh, so many groups. Uh, not Parliament. Funkadelic would
Wow.
come down. Not Barcase. Cameo. Cameo
I was
coming
gonna say Cameo.
downtown. Yeah. For those funk groups, a lot of them,
Right,
a lot
right.
of the groups that came down, we did opening acts for them.
Oh, that's
And
crazy.
so that's how we became more and more popular. And then after a while, we stopped entering contests because not that we felt we were higher than that, but we
Right,
felt
right.
that it was time for us to progress further beyond that. We already established ourselves and we had nothing more to prove. Not trying
Right,
to be,
right.
the kind high makamaka or anything like that, but we just felt we didn't have any more to prove. Now we can go out there just perform and entertain people. And so yeah, so we did that. I remember opening up for what's Princess Vanity. I think it
Yeah.
was Vanity. Yeah, Vanity. We opened up for her. Many different artists that came through the Bay Area. We did
And then you
opening
would
acts
travel
for
to
them.
LA and link up with your tribe.
Yeah, yeah. We traveled to LA. We link up with the well at that time.
City.
They were called the Blue City Lockers at the time, and that's when met Michael Chambers, who's Bulu Shrimp, Adolfo Quiones, which is Shabadoo, Popping Taco, Bruno, Popping Taco, and some of the other guys that you see who later on end up being on the movie Breaking. Those are some of the guys that we used to perform with. In fact, I got some flyers laying around somewhere in that book that
Right,
shows
right.
all their names and everything like that. Myself, when we got together, I used to partner off with Donald. Donald was one of the Booyah Tribe members. There
Right.
was four brothers, from what I understand. Ted Rock, he was, I think in the Booyah Tribe, he was named the Godfather. I believe he
Okay.
passed
Okay.
away.
Yeah.
And his brother, at that time, his dad's name was Riddler D.
Okay.
He was, something Riddler.
Right.
He passed away also, and the only one
He
left
became
out of
Gangster Rid. Is that him?
yeah, that's him. That's him. He was the younger brother, and then Donald was the middle brother, and Donald was the guy. He and I were about the same height, same hairstyle, same build, and we used to wear this thing we used to call clackers.
Okay.
And so he and I he and I would get together and do boogaloo routines and
Right,
everything
right.
like that. Yeah, but
That is crazy. Oh, was that so?
mm.
Were they gangsters back then, or just more dancers?
No, yeah. It was, yeah. It wasn't like that. It was just the dancing.
Right.
Yeah, they were just strictly dancers at that particular time. They didn't become the Booyah Tribe too many years later. They formed that. Even well before that, some of the crew after we started, some of the members started leaving us, and I'm referring to Quick Style, and other
Right.
members started coming in. Jack and Charlie, Eric, he was one of the members in our group, the Quick Style, and Jack and Charlie once again is Heckle and Jekyll.
Yeah.
And then there was another member who was Eric's friend. They formed a group. I don't know if you remember the singing group. They were only around for a couple years called the Boys in Paradise.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I kind of do remember that. Yeah.
yeah. This is back in the '90s, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they
Yeah.
were really popular. In fact, they went to Hawaii to perform. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Those are the guys. Those are the former members of the group I used to dance with. Uh, Eric is currently traveling with Stevie B, a percussionist and background singer
Oh,
now,
wow.
even till today. Yeah. Jack and Charlie, I'm not sure what they're up to now nowadays. But yeah, so those are the tentacles
Yeah.
from
So
the
how long were
name.
you in the Bay, and then did you move back home after that?
So I moved. Yeah, I moved home the same day the Oklahoma City bomb
Oh,
went
wow.
off. It's the same day that I flew out
That
of
was
San Francisco.
1994.
I want to say 94, 95, somewhere. Yeah, it was somewhere around that time period
You came
that
back
the
to
bomb went off.
Hawaii.
Yeah, that's why I
And
went to Hawaii.
did you get already keyed in with what's going on with the dance scene here, or you just kind of just stepped away by
Not,
then?
yeah, I was not that I was out because that's will always be a part of me, but there were time periods where it was out there more than others because I had other
Yeah.
aspects of my life and other
Right.
things
Yeah.
going on in my
Totally.
life that it wasn't, so how when I found out more about the dance scene in Hawaii was when I used to teach for a school. Actually, they're still there now in IE called Nick's Dance
Okay.
Performance
Yeah. Yeah.
Center. Yeah. So I was with them and I started teaching. I met Ed through a friend of mine, Chucky Stevens.
Okay.
Yeah, and he and I formed the group later on called Aftershock, which later on became the Hawaii Campbell Lock Dancers.
Wow.
Yeah, this legs are all over the place. Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. But anyway, I used to dance at the. I used to perform with or teach, I should say, at
When did
Ed and
Aftershock? Aftershock was formed. In what year was Aftershock formed?
so Aftershock. When I taught with Ed, I want to say I taught at Nick's Dance maybe a couple years. So I moved, I think it was 94. I moved back to Hawaii. I want to say about 96, 97. I might
Wow.
be off about a year, about 96, 97
Yeah.
area. Yeah. Is when I started. And I met Ed and Juliet, who are the owners
Right.
of Nick's Dance. Chucky used to be a dance teacher.
Okay.
And how he and I met, we were at a dance, and I did a couple moves at the dance, and then I looked over and he did a couple moves, and he pointed
Oh,
to me. I did a couple moves, and he did, and then so again, like how I met a lot of the
yeah.
other, like Derek and everybody, we got together and we hit it right off. And when I told him who I was and the people I used to dance with, he used to watch us, love watching us, the Silver Lockers when he was a kid. He was just a kid.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he was just a little kid at the time when we performed. And so he's like the second generation. We call him,
Yeah.
we have the first generation, which is us, and then we have the
Right.
second generation. So he and I just bonded right away. And he and I used to perform into contest as a duo, and that's when we used to call ourselves Aftershock. Yeah, and that's when he introduced me to Ed and Juliet, and then I became a dance a teacher for their school.
Wow. So then after Aftershock, okay, this is a good part. Well, this is all great. I mean, I'm getting so schooled right now. It's so super awesome. So Aftershock happens. So
Mhm.
you finally, how did you finally get in contact with Don Campbell? So you never talked to him ever before.
Never. No. That even what's strange enough, even I was in the same area in LA, I
Yeah.
never had that opportunity. But he was my idol. If there's anybody in my life I
Yeah.
could say were my idols, there was only two people outside
Right.
of my dad, of course, was Muhammad Ali
Nice.
and was Don Campbell. Because Muhammad Ali, I emulated. I used to box and I emulated him.
Great.
And Don Campbell, because obviously the dance style was so dear to me. It was a part of me. I was in my DNA so much so. And so how I ended up meeting Don. So later on, a few years down the line, I believe it's in the 2000s,
Right.
is when I met a gentleman, and I forgot how I met Clark, but Clark Cujo, I forget how
Clark Quadro.
Quadro, yes. I met him. I'm not quite sure how I met. I think it was probably one of the gatherings, b-boy gatherings
I
they
think
used
he
to
was
have.
doing video for Knicks maybe at one point.
Maybe,
Yeah, yeah.
possibly, maybe that's how I
Or just
met.
dance in general. He was doing a bunch of b-boy jams.
Yeah. Somehow we met each other, and we just hooked up. We became really good friends, and he told me uh, about his desire to do these b-boy competitions and everything. So he hadn't done any at that time yet. I believe b-boy reunion is what he calls them now. But he had not done any yet. In fact, he may have been in the plans to do them or putting them on when we met. But he and I met, and he told me his plans and everything, and I explained to him the history, where I got my, and he seemed very intrigued about that. In fact, I think some of the information you may have gotten was actually from Clark, because I did an interview with him many years ago. Yeah, long time. I forgot all about that. We're talking about, oh my God, about 20 years ago. I did an interview with him. So he was interested in, and then what was cool about, especially during that time period, a lot of people were hungry to learn about their past, not necessarily their personal past, but the past of their thing that they were interested in, which was b-boy and hip hop. It was now known as hip hop by that time. The Waikiki Breakers, I ended up meeting them, and they were really into the history. Clark was, so I explained to him and everything, and he and I got together. So I told him about Don, and we could not get him in time for the first b-boy reunion. I believe it was either the second or the third one. It may have been the third one, because there was one that he held up at UH campus, and I believe that was the third b-boy union, if I'm not mistaken. And so finally, by then, I had my own place, and we were finally able to get in touch with Don Campbell's son, and I forgot, Denny. I want to say Denny Campbell. Oh no, his last name wasn't Campbell. Denny was his last name. Anyway, his son, I got in touch with his son, and he was the one. He was kind of like his father's the guy to go to
his agent
arrange. Yeah, like an agent. So we talked out the price and everything, and agreements, and we did the contract, and so he ended up coming down here, and that's one of the pictures I showed you. That was just about a few minutes after he had landed. I took that picture and I sent to you. So he came down and stayed with us for about a week, and the main reason why I wanted to bring him was double full. Not only obviously because he was my idol and I wanted to meet him, but we were going around performing as Aftershock. By that time, we had more members in the group. We had the ex-members of Galaxy Lockers, like I mentioned, Dino Robley, Tony. We tried to get him, but he wasn't really into he wanted to dance, but he wasn't sure that he was able to do it anymore. Bobby White. Now, I don't know if you ever heard his name, Bobby White. Bobby White was the guy that used to be at Ala Moana, used to dance and direct traffic, the Popola guy back in the 70s. Yeah, that's Bobby White. He was featured on Hawaiʻi Movie Company and also on some kind of program on the mainland. So he was actually world known at the time. He ended up in the group. Frankie Hilongo was a group he was a member from Lakeside Lockers. And his son, he joined the group, and then we were known as Aftershock. So anyway, we wanted to go back to your original name as Campbell Lock Dancers, not Lockers, but Campbell Lock Dancers, in dedication to Don. But we didn't want to just name ourselves that. We wanted to have the proper send off if he would allow us to be called that. And sure enough, he came down and explained to him, and not only did he send us off, but he danced with us, performed with us. Yeah, so that was like a lifetime dream come true. So we performed together, and that time on until we broke up, we became known as the Hawaii Campbell Lock Dancers.
Wow, So it's crazy that you started locking back in the 70s, and you never met your idol.
Never.
Until 2000 something.
Yeah.
And then you were able to get the cosign to be like, you guys gonna be and a Campbell Lock Dancers. And it's crazy because we're from Hawaii. Hawaii, right? You would think this would happen in New York or LA.
Right, yeah.
San Francisco, but no, Hawaii has the official Campbell Lock dancers, co-signed by the man who started the dance.
Yeah, the man who invented the dance. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's insane, man. I mean, that's exactly what exactly. I mean, this has been like one of the best interviews because we covered everything that I could imagine from your beginning all the way to like you meet Don Campbell, which is insane. You know what I mean? But are you currently dancing right now, or just kind of just
No,
you have a
I
restaurant business in San
yeah,
Antonio?
we just have a restaurant. Well, it's outside of Central. It's in a
Right.
town called city called Universal City. It's called Big Aloha's Ali'i Cove. We are on Facebook, but not only are we a restaurant, but we also we help. We like to help the community. When Hurricane Harvey came through many
Right.
years ago, the ground zero was actually Rockport. A lot of people paid attention to Houston, and because they got devastated, but Rockport got wiped out, and we used to love to go to Rockport.
Right.
And so instead of we had the food truck at that time, we didn't have the restaurant,
Right.
and so instead of going to Houston like everybody else was, we decided to go to Rockport and help the victims down there. And so we gathered up a bunch of people and volunteers, and we went down there one Saturday, and we fed almost 2,000 people free food.
Wow, that's awesome,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, and somehow Channel 9 or news station Sean
Right.
Sheen. I think
Yeah.
it's Sean Sheen. No, or no, maybe some one of the news station in Hawaii got hold of this somehow, and they
Oh,
contacted us, and we did a phone interview for the news in
oh,
Hawaii.
that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So Hawaii still somehow finds its way all the way to you. That's so dope, bro. That's so dope.
Yeah.
But anyway, shoot, man. Like, I mean, is there any stories, anything else you want to add before we kind of wrap this up?
Well, I mean,
Anything you want to like, I mean, you've seen like, man, you've done it. Like, oh, you're at the beginning of something, you
Yeah.
created something, you pushed locking and dancing way past Hawaii, influenced many dancers and people. So it's like, what would you say to the Hawaii dancer or anybody in hip hop or any creative space in Hawaii that because we're on an island, people sometimes think that we can't do it.
Yeah, you know what? Your my personal feelings, local dancers in Hawaii, and I'm pass out to all of you out there is you are unique. Don't ever think you're below. Don't ever think you're not equal. You're actually, to me, you're actually above because of the fact that being on an island, you're isolated in somewhat. I mean, we have connection now with internet, not back in the day, but still somewhat isolated. And so your creativity seems to be more advanced, more pronounced than it would be people on the mainland because of the fact that you're isolated.
Right.
And so just continue your dreams. If there's something you want to do for a living, go for it. Yeah, Hawaii is starting to get known for many things now, as you probably know, and never give up your dreams. The only way that you will not succeed is when you do not try. Because if you don't try, you've already failed.
Yeah.
And so that's the only guarantee way that you're going to fail is if you decide not to even go for it, not to even try, and just never give up. Yeah, never give up.
Nice. Right on, Kalani. Yo, I'd like to say thank you to Kalani Young, one of the founders of Hawaii Locking and Hawaii hip hop. It definitely, it is like you said, man. Like it just your branches and everything, your leaves, the roots that you planted here in Hawaii has affected so many. I see locking done in spurts, because my daughter does dance. I'm cringy most of the time, but I'm like, I can see your fingerprint, your blueprint. You and all the people that you came up with back in 1973 are still living in Hawaii's dance scene. So thank you for everything that you've done for Hawaii and for the dance and for Hawaii hip hop. And this is Kavet the Catalyst, ALANUI MELE on PBS Hawaii, Hawaii hip hop history. See you guys later. Peace.
Hui